YouTube.
Is it YouTube? Is that what you do?
I mean,
well, hold on. So there's two things. You can share the link to YouTube. Yes. I think you also, Brett, I'm not saying you have to do this, but if you wanted to do this, you can actually just share this live stream via your account too, if that's
The
what you're
StreamYard
asking.
link?
Yeah. I don't know how it's going to look for you, but if you look in the top right, you should see some social icons.
Negative.
So if you wanted to, you could go live. But Tommy did what I did last week. He just went live anyways.
I did. Yeah, we've been live, boys. Go ahead. No, keep talking.
I've been watching the button, but yeah, you could do that. I don't know what's best, to be honest with you.
I'll post to YouTube.
What's up, Raz? What's up, Patrick? Ooh, what's your poll? What's your poll trending at right now, Patrick? You were asking folks. Let's look. Patrick asked, what was the question you asked?
Yes, retainers
or fixed quotes? Fixed quotes in the lead at 51%. All right. Okay.
I feel like that's very short-sighted.
Fixed?
Yeah.
You were kind of a fan of the fixed. Oh, hey, by the way, hey, everyone. So here's Brett in the show. All right. How's that for an intro? Is that a good intro?
I think that covers it.
Great.
Yeah.
Who's got the better hat today?
I do.
Oh, what's yours, Tom? What does that mean?
Best regards. It's Buddy's company. He's a media. He's my agent.
It's sleek.
Oh, is that Gil's hat?
Yeah, it is Gil's hat. Best regards.
That's a nice hat. I want
it.
One.
Is. It's nice. It's a pretty cool hat. He sent it to
me. I'm gonna text Gil right now. I'm gonna say, Gil, I want a hat and an action figure.
So. Yeah, Brett. If you ever need an agent, man, let me know. Gil's good people.
Agent, damn, yeah, not there.
You know, out there cooking up some brand deals with your spicy takes and stuff.
Interesting. That's an angle I have never thought of.
Does Brett have spicy takes?
I mean,
I have common sense takes, not spicy takes.
Yeah. I do expect to learn how many layers some of those Figma creations have, though. I was hoping to get the answer on that.
On which ones?
You've made a couple now, but what was the one, the mortgage?
Let me pull it up.
Ooh. Brett made at this point, I don't remember which one this was. Is it
the Ferrari?
Car? The Ferrari. Yeah.
Ferrari? Yeah, that one was, here it is. Hey. There's actually a plugin, because I thought, how the hell am I going to do this?
That'll count all the layers?
That counts the layers, yeah.
Hey. I don't want to do that.
All right.
Are you, hold on.
It is.
Are you sharing the screen? Are we seeing this?
No, we should see this, though. You should pull this up if you can.
Can you share your screen?
You want to see it? Yeah.
Yeah, we want to see the grand reveal.
Okay.
And let's do one final ask of the folks here. How many layers do you think this thing had? I don't remember what my guess was. I think it was in the 2000s.
Dude, you were close. I think it was.
No, Tommy, your guess was like 1300.
Was it? That was close.
Yeah, you guessed like 13 or 1400.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Share screen.
What's your guess, Hunter? I don't think I got one from you. Maybe
1246.
See.
All right. Let's see.
2.5K, Adrian says.
Share screen.
Yeah, let's see it. Hey, so he made this in Figma.
Correct.
6969 is probably pretty close.
Yeah, you're gonna see like the dirty version of it. This is not where I put it nicely in a little 1x1 tile, but all right, can you see it?
We are gonna show it now. Oh,
boom!
There we go.
All right, so
and the range you gave was it's either between what and what? I can't remember what it was.
Between what did I say? More than 100, less than 4,000. No. I said more than 100, less than 4,000.
There you go.
Okay.
How many layers? How many layers did it take to make this?
There you go.
Let's see the chat. Oh, is it telling us?
1080.
Oh wow, Hunter's
1090. Yeah.
1090. Okay, my bad. 1090. Wow. 1090 layers. How long did it take you?
This one took me, dude. The other ones, most of them take me just under 30 minutes. The water gun that I just did took me an hour and 29 minutes. This one this was before I did time lapse, so I wasn't counting.
Yeah.
This one took me the better part of like probably four hours because I did it over the course of a couple of days, just here and there.
Yeah.
This one was the trickiest for sure. But yeah, 1090.
Hey,
Wow.
That's awesome.
So did anybody win?
No. No. That one you had to guess the exact number. The other ones that I've done in the past, you just had to be the closest. So
now hold on. I want to unpack this because you said if you win, I'll pay your mortgage, but you didn't specify that you'd pay like a month of your mortgage or the whole fucking.
Well, I thought that was common sense.
I don't know,
no.
man. I feel like
I know, right?
Hot water. Yeah.
Maybe I left the door open there. No, it was definitely a month. Yeah, I've done 500 in the past. I've done, I think in certain cases, if you guessed it right, I think I've offered a studio monitor, Apple Studio monitor, or no one got that exactly right either. And then, but there was 2 winners for those. But yeah,
that's pretty fun.
Yep.
I think, Brett, let's just get this out of the way because this is what I use as my spicy tag of you coming today, just to rile people up. So you and I were texting at the beginning of the year, and you were saying that obviously seasonality applies here, but calls were down. And then you started posting these little experiments and these time lapse and all these fun things. And now you said that the calls are just like spiking up like crazy.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because I feel like you've beat the algorithm again. And right now, I'm sure most people are aware that X's algorithm is a fucking mess right now.
It's atrocious. Yeah.
A year ago, post something really eye-opening about revenue, goes viral. Now that doesn't work. And so you've transitioned to what I would say is like a much cooler format, to be honest, right? Of like sharing fun little projects in Figma. And it seems to be having an outsized effect. Like how many, that got what, 1,400 likes, that little button?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as to say that sharing revenue numbers doesn't work if your revenue numbers are on the extreme end of the spectrum. To be honest with you, I just got freaking tired of doing it. So it's not that I stopped doing it because it didn't work. It probably works better than anything out there by a wide margin.
You think so?
But absolutely. I mean, it has for the last 8 years for me. On Twitter, I mean, definitely we were talking over text. Algorithms, platforms in general, they have a life cycle. All of them do. Twitter will go away someday. Every platform will at some point. And inside of that, the actual algorithms suffer the same result over and over and over again. It's very, very difficult to stay on top of it. You have to constantly be experimenting, innovating, testing things out. But yeah, you and I were talking that for us, right, where distribution is a core piece of our business, and we rely on it heavily. Because we don't really do much outside of social and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when things get shaken up, like it affects the whole business, affects the lead pipelines. Like for the first time in a long time, I mean, many years, I saw my pipeline virtually dry up. I mean, compared to where it's been in the past. Yeah. And that's when you and I had a conversation. I thought maybe it was just me. And then you mentioned it on this last call, and I happened to be listening at that time. I thought, we need to chat about this. And yeah, so I did what I do and tried other things out. These things, you don't necessarily always expect them to translate to people wanting to hire you necessarily. I mean, they're really geared more for designers. Yeah. But the network effect is real. So it's definitely, it's like I just told you yesterday or the day before, or whatever it was, completely turned things around for me, at least for the time being.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, man, because I'll tell you in our case, so for off menu, I think let me give you a real number. But we've been monitoring our analytics pretty closely of where traffic's gone. And so if I look at off menu right now, I'll use that as our proxy. Traffic is up 128% month over month. So in terms of, clicks and new users, things are really strong, but the call bookings have been down, right?
Sure.
So one of the things for us, we're like, man, time to roll out, like time to get rid of the new site. So we're rolling our new site, which was a temporary site, but we're rolling it back. We're going back to the one.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's
Not surprised
an
at all.
interesting thing because that new site that we did, I think people love it, and we've gotten a lot of good comments about it. But it's very simple. It's meant to be temporary. It's missing a lot of that good information of like, here's our perspective, and here's FAQs, and here's all these like basic ass things.
Yep.
So yeah, rolling it back.
No, bad for conversions, he said.
Mhm.
Looked good.
Yeah, who was it? You had someone on your show that put it just so perfectly. Who was that? You guys were reviewing your site. I think you showed a
Dan.
preview.
Might
By
have been.
Dan.
He's a course. He's a big
Dan
course
Mall.
guy.
Dan
Maybe
Mull.
so.
You
Yeah,
can make
but
jokes about all sites you want, Adrian. Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, usually, right? Like that's usually the opposite of what you want when you have a new site release. I think every iteration that I have done on the DesignJoy site, my goal right now is to redesign it once a year. I mean, I'd love to redesign it more often than that, but it's just all I have the capacity for right now. Usually, I see a huge uptick in interest, so it's interesting for you. Now, you went a totally different approach. I mean, you're charging way more than I am. So you're asking a whole lot more, but in theory, giving them a whole lot less in terms of how you're selling to them, right? And what information you're trying to convey. So yeah, it's an interesting approach, but I'm not super surprised.
It's a really interesting. This is not our topic of the show today, but it is a really interesting thing because you're then making the assumption of like, what's the buying intent of the traffic that you're gathering? What's the source in which, traffic is hitting you? And I think it's really interesting because Brett, for you, you'll have these tweets that'll go viral. And maybe somebody's heard of DesignJoy or something like that. And they'll come into DesignJoy and they want a lot of that information of what's this? I'm going to make kind of like a pretty quick buying choice, things like that. Whereas off menu tends to be a little different. It tends to kind of have a sales cycle that is, I would say, more analogous to like an older agency, right?
Yeah.
And then it just has like transparent, simple pricing. And it's funny because we did this years ago. We won site of the month. And we got this huge boom of traffic and like all the fun acclaim that comes with site of the month. And it led to like 0 fucking conversions. And it's just so funny to me that the things that we live in this bubble of like, oh, that's interesting from a design perspective is oftentimes the exact opposite of what the end customer or prospect actually wants to see. Right. It's always a fun lesson to relearn even after, 20 years in this business.
I hear you.
I hate it all, man. I just hate design. I'm over it. Here's my negative streak for the episode.
What is this?
So you guys, I was thinking about like the approach you've been taking, Brett, lately, which I didn't realize you've been doing that across a little bit of a while now. I've seen a couple of your showing how you're doing it in Figma, but sharing the work is always my favorite activity. And I gotta wonder, like, if you guys seen the Base Dash website?
Dude, I don't love it like you do.
I am such a fan with the little details on this thing.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of great stuff. Don't get me wrong.
There's a lot of
it's just the type. There's something about
the font's terrible.
Like,
yeah.
Not a fan. That's fine. Unicorn Studio, the use of it in here is really sick, which I kind of wanted to show you something in Unicorn Studio later, Brett. But great, just impressive feat. Like whether you like it or not, like the way that a lot of this, like this background kind of like pulls with the cursor, just kind of impressive technically. I was curious who made this. This studio over here, Reboot. I like this landing page, man.
Is that a frame? Is
this Framer?
No, it's Base Dash Framer.
This is I went to Built With, and so at least some of it is, yeah, it pulls that it's built with Framer. So there's some good stuff here, but it's Framer and Unicorn Studio, although I don't know what this was made with.
Dude, it looks like
is that Rive? I'm not sure.
It looks like chaos. Like
too chaotic for you.
Yeah, as an end consumer, because the concept of what Base Dash is really attractive to me as a product.
Yeah.
But looking at their landing page, it's like they said, we want something like linear, but not like linear. Like we maybe want to do some more cool stuff. And it went nuts. It's too much, man.
I agree.
I love it. I'm such a fan. But I'm kind of in this geek mode where I'm moving away from over indexing on like the proper UX, and I'm really enjoying like the little interactivity. And I don't agree that this looks like linear, but I don't think that's what you were saying.
No.
But I thought it's interesting when you get projects where you do get to sometimes show off little things like that. Have you had that like give you guys a big bump? Have you shared like a project like this and see it go viral? Are you guys in the business of sharing the work of your clients often, or do you try not to do that?
Well, off menu shares something every day.
I would say I've seen off menu share some things.
Yeah, off menu does every day. I'm curious what Brett's take on this. I'll say this: the greatest results that I've ever seen from client work is just referrals. Right. Especially when you're doing things that are a little bit bigger budget. It's typically like a VP or a C-suite executive that you worked with that really liked you has taken a new role. And they want you to come to their new company. That's pretty common. Or they've, sung your praises to a colleague at a different firm, right? Like that's typically what I'll see. I haven't seen anything happen from the efficacy of like a site going viral, but that definitely does happen, right? Brett, I don't know, man. What do you think?
I agree with everything you said. I personally, this is just a personal choice of mine, not trying to steer designers in one way or another. I don't really create work like that. I see websites like that and I'm like, it's super cool. Like as a designer consuming, and I'm like, I can appreciate the amount of work and programming and design and thought that went into this. Is it conversion centric? Not really. Like my style of design, like what I share on Twitter versus what I output in Design Joy are two totally different things. I'm a very simple designer. I like things very straightforward, almost letting design kind of get out of the way versus if you land on my side, I want you talking less about like the aesthetics and more about the actual product and like being interested in it, right? That's just my personal style, and some of it is just a pure capability standpoint. Like I don't have the capability to do some of this stuff.
Oh, but you do. But you do, sir.
You do.
No. Yeah. And that's what I want to show you is Unicorn Studio a little bit later, just because it really is this unlock for being able to do some of this stuff. Like even if you weren't trying to go haywire like this, Brett, I could show you how to do this in like less than an hour, and it could just be like one little addition to things, and you don't have to write a single line of code, and you don't even have to use AI.
I could show you how to do this in 10 minutes with AI.
I bet you couldn't. I bet you couldn't do this in 10 minutes.
Hold on. We're talking about two horizontal.
So the cursor movement, it's a WebGL graphic, right? It's essentially what you've got is a white square. There's probably a small glow effect, or maybe that was added with Unicorn.
Yeah.
And then Unicorn has the ability to pull this out. I can't remember what this effect is called. And then you could have it trace the mouse like this. And you just set that as a background layer to these marquee logos.
I bet you could prototype this pretty quickly with AI.
But my point is
something similar in Webflow, but maybe not exact.
Yeah, just Unicorn Studio makes it super simple, and then you would still have really blazing fast performance on your page as well.
Well, we're excited for you to share that with us, Tom.
I've been geeking out over Unicorn Studio, so you're
gonna. I feel like I should have heard of Unicorn Studio, but I don't even know what it is.
It's in closed beta right now, but it's
okay.
It's a dope little labor of love tool.
Sweet.
Well, so what are our I don't know the format of this show. What are our hot topics or our rapid fire What do we
Well,
got?
we've got. I mean, so do we want to get into some rapid fire stuff? We'll just get through this.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you this too, Brett. So one of the things that I was seeing in the last like couple of weeks, and I know a lot of friends were reporting the same thing, was Figma just being significantly slower. You seeing that with all the layers you're working with, man?
Bro, I have seen it too. It's everywhere. I have not experienced it whatsoever. I don't
Interesting.
update my Figma very often too. Like I'm scared to sometimes, just based on some of the changes they've made recently. I just before this call, I rebooted on my computer, got a notification to update, and I declined it for now. So possibly it's because I'm not on the latest version, but I have not seen any performance dips.
I wonder, has anyone else been seeing like the Figma sluggishness? I feel like it's gotten better, but I have absolutely felt it. But like Thiago Costa was saying, it's gotten better. I was just curious if other people have seen it, or maybe if your team has seen it.
Figma has even I think made a statement on it, so it is a
Yeah,
thing.
they said things should be cleared up now. I think they're still kind of banging their head to make sure that's completely true. On the other side of it, Photoshop, it's 2025, goes multiplayer. Do you still use Photoshop? Brett, do you still use Photoshop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hate to, but I have to sometimes.
Does multiplayer work in this context?
Like not for a use case that I would have.
Yeah, it seems like a weird. That's going to be a new like thing to get used to for people who are used to Photoshop. I've tried Unicorn Studio a few weeks ago again, but I feel like no matter the crazy thing you do, it still loads the website too much with it. See, my I did a real quick on the Unicorn thing. I added it and it's pulling up like blazing fast. Mobile, it's slightly impacted, but not much. Desktop, it's like 100% across for Lighthouse.
He only uses Photo P nowadays.
What the hell is that?
Not to be confused with Photo Broccoli. Photo P.
I don't know if that's a joke or if that's real.
Jay says, yeah, me too. All right, Clown Martin, +1.
There it is.
All right. I'm gonna keep up with chat today. I got you.
Yeah, do it. I'm gonna go through just some of the little topics here, the little quick releases this week in design. Hunter, have you seen this, man?
I have, and can I tell you a fun fact about this?
Let's hear it.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, Adam, the future of CAD. So they're essentially prompting to CAD, right?
Yep.
Which is crazy, and I think that is going to be a huge unlock in a lot of ways. They're in YC, I believe, for the winter batch or whatever. Guess how many engineers are on this team?
How many?
0.
That's awesome. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, like, dude, this goes back to my point of like, maybe we'll get into a therapy session a little later in this episode and in public. Well, therapy in public. But, and I don't say this to be negative. I say this as a thing that I'm kind of experiencing on a daily basis right now, which is like, I find it really difficult to wake up and be excited about doing anything for a client when the wealth of things that I could do for myself is almost an infinite canvas at this point.
That's what it feels like.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Yeah, I'm super excited to see what this team builds, and I'm excited to see more teams come out doing things that are technically challenging like this. And then, Wizard of Oz, the grand reveal is that, they have no engineers, at least on the founding team, right?
I love that. I want the tool that's going to do something similar for spatial design, for AR. I cannot wait for that. I'm sure someone's working on it. I'd love to see that. That would be a good time. Voice UI, though, with 11 Labs, just raised 180 million for their Series C, and they are betting huge, apparently, on AI voice. I can't shut up with voice. And Hunter, I know every time you text me like, hey, you have a quick question, I send you a 2-minute long voice note because I just use my voice for everything. I like to see this. I want to see more voice UI.
But I guess the thing here though is that this is interesting. And Jay, this is a great idea. While we cover the next couple topics, go ahead. load us up with questions and we'll bang them out one after another.
Yeah.
Once we're done. Not really. But thank you. But I think that the interesting thing about voice in 11 Labs specifically is 11 Labs is cool as shit, but they're trying to do synthetic voices, right? So that they can give agents a voice. My one complaint with that is that I prefer to deliver information to AI with my voice because it's faster for me to talk than it is to type, but it's much faster for me to read than it is to listen. And so that's where I get that contention of like, in that her like dystopian future, yeah, like I want to be talking to my AirPods, whatever, but I don't know that I want that like slowness of having to listen, even if the AI is repeating it back to me like 2x speed. I don't know. That still feels pretty slow.
I think the question is though, like, do you want to have to single track focus on reading text, even if it's for 20 seconds, versus do you want to be able to multitask listening to a message while doing something else?
Well, that's not how the brain works. If you're listening to the message, you're listening to the message. You're not going to successfully multitask into other things while actually listening to something that matters.
I don't know.
I agree with Hunter on this one.
Let me just call this out. There is sufficient neurological evidence to support my claims.
I'm not saying that you're going to comprehend everything you're taking in at the same time, at the same fidelity, but I think you can get the gist of certain things.
Yeah. I want to hear real quick. Like I want to hear how Brett's using AI in the day to day.
I do too.
Oh man. So
I'm not.
No, I mean, occasionally, if I need like some sort of like stylistic background or something to supplement a brand guide or something like that, or a pattern, or I mean, in certain cases, I use even like a basis for logo design or something like that. But I'm primarily only in Midjourney. That's about the extent of AI that I've used. I have some really, I think maybe we'll get to it. But in regards to, Hunter, your passion, and Tom, you too, your passion for building versus toying around in Figma. I have some thoughts on that have prohibited me from exploring that further. And so, yeah, I'm at the moment, I'm kind of limited to just like every once in a while, maybe once or twice a day, plugging some prompts into Midjourney, creating some creatives there, and then spinning them off on my own in some way for a logo or for a gradient or whatever.
You're not using AI to like run the ops of DesignJoy?
Oh, absolutely not. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know what to use it for.
Hunter wants to
there's not Hunter. Hunter, you know this. You and I run very different operations. The ops for DesignJoy is virtually non-existent. So there's not a lot of opportunity there for me to even do too much there.
I respect that because the ops for off menu are relatively straightforward, right? Other businesses, no. I would say off menu is probably the most simplistic in terms of operations. So I get it. I respect that. That makes sense.
What's prohibiting you? You said you have some thoughts that are prohibiting you from playgrounding.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this whole build versus design, and that this whole philosophy is everywhere, right? You can't escape it on Twitter, whether it's you guys talking about it or anyone else talking about it. It's like V0, cursor, lovable. I'm having to learn all of these things over these past few weeks and what they are and how they work. And I think what you guys potentially miss, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I know your background a little bit, Hunter. I don't know your background as much, Tom. But I think you guys think it's easier than it actually is.
Interesting.
So from my perspective, I'm not the most technical person, but I'm definitely not tech illiterate, right? Like I build in Webflow. I've been building in Webflow for 10 years. I design complex software. Like I'm a technical guy, but I don't have software or programming background in my toolkit. So when for example, just last night, I tried V0 first, moved into Lovable because I thought maybe Lovable was going to be a little bit more entry level friendly.
Yep.
I just tried to build a simple background removal tool because I pay erase.bg $12 a month or whatever because it's just Photoshop's clunky to remove backgrounds, and some of these tools are just super quick at it, but they're like $12 a month. So I'm like, hey, maybe I can build a free background removal tool to do this for me, run it locally, that whole thing, and it not cost me a dime. So I wrote out my little prompt in my notes app describing exactly what I wanted. And it built the tool. Like, it built the tool very, very fast. I dragged an image in there. It worked, but the result was horrendous. Like, it was splotchy. And I even gave it a pretty good image to kind of work off of because I thought maybe I'll have to refine it and talk it through it. It was super splotchy. So I asked the AI, I said, hey, in my my non-programming terms, why was the result so poor here? And so, well, we defaulted to this standard background removal API or something like that. You can upgrade it to another one and it'll give you better results.
Yep.
And let's do that for you. I was like, oh, awesome. I thought I would have to go and find one, figure out how to plug it in, and it just did it. And then I went to upload again and just threw an error. It wouldn't it wouldn't produce any results. I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe I'll just ask it, why are you throwing me an error? Just again, kind of just general stuff. And it just gave me this runaround answer where basically it's telling me I would have to go find my own background removal API, plug it into Lovable in some way, and it just stopped. Like, all progress stopped. I have no clue how to plug in APIs, how to set up databases, how to plug in databases to that. It even told me to open up my terminal and set up the same file structures I have in Lovable or V0. I have no clue what that even means. So I don't even understand the foundational elements of programming enough to make this actually work. And I think a lot of people are in my same boat. Like, we're designers, we strive to be in the same boat as you guys, but it's clear that at least, Hunter, you have some programming knowledge based on what I've seen.
Right.
And without that basic knowledge, I think a lot of us are like a fish out of water, even when it comes to using tools as simple as Lovable.
I'm glad that you brought this up because I know last week, I think the word you used was outrageous. I was like, I want to talk to Brett about that. I think you're bringing up a really great point, and empathetically, I hear you. But I also want to push back on a couple things here and say that I think the question here, one is somebody going to be dedicated to doing it, right? That's the first thing. Like, I'm sure, Brett, that if you were like, no, like, I really want to build this background removal tool, that you could figure it out, right? And I think that's where there's this litmus test of agency, or at least the general dedication to solving that problem, because I think the landscape now is that the tools are available to you to do that, even if you don't come into it with a lot of programming knowledge, or even if you're coming into it with zero. But there is that, I think, initial learning curve of figuring out, well, what is it that I'm trying to achieve, and what would technical or programming best practices look like to achieve this? And so really, I think one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is that they jump straight into Lovable or Bolt, or, as we've been sitting here talking about it, people have been saying, oh, V0 do this, they require knowledge, Bolt new, whatever. Like, I hear these people, we'll get to you. But I think just jumping into the tool, which under the hood, they're all just using Claude 3.5 Sonnet to code, right? I think jumping in and expecting you to say, I want to do a background removal tool, which is a fairly complex computation, actually, it's going to set you up for failure. Whereas the workflow with AI, I think, should opportunistically start much higher in the chain, to where you're having that initial conversation with O1 or O1 Pro or something and saying like, hey, I don't know anything about engineering. I need you to be my CTO. This is what we're trying to achieve. I want you to think about the problem, think about how we'd implement a solution, and then talk me through it in steps. And I think that's kind of the starting point that I've seen be really successful, because then that typical learning curve gets flattened almost, because you're having O1 kind of walk you through most of it. And from there, you're typically going to create like an implementation plan that you're then asking Lovable to do in very specific steps And then you're able to make grander use of what I would say is the intelligence there. And that's just like a very small sample size, but looking at that, I think it's a question of working from the first principles and trying to understand what's the general solution, what's the general implementation plan, and then kind of beginning to take action on implementing it versus just hopping straight into the plan. And I honestly, dude, like, I think that's a problem in the way that a lot of these tools are sold or talked about today. Is like, Lovable can build anything. No, it can't, right? I use Lovable for like, I don't know, 10 minutes the other night for the first time. And I was going Figma, Builder.io plugin, Lovable, and Lovable just starts building this thing in invite instead of next, which is basically a different language, right? And I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Like, and it's like, well, sorry, I can't change the code. It'd be too complicated. Things would break. I'm like, what a waste of my fucking time. So yeah, like I hear you, dude. I want to make a course on this stuff so badly. Just
you should.
Can
I was literally just. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I want to hear what you want to say. I want to add to that though, because one, it's a completely fair point. And my background was I started as a front end developer, so I can at least communicate and I understand how to talk about it. Now I worked as a dedicated product designer for many years, but that's where I came from, and I've shipped to production a lot. And so it does help me, but even I get hung up when I start to dig into the back end for debugging. So yes, the barrier to entry is both significantly lower now and still frighteningly high. The thing that, so never mind an actual coding editor, like what Cursor and Windsurf attach to. And that's what he and I talk about a lot now. But when you kind of compare Bolt, Lovable, and V0, and I was talking to Rid about this the other day, Lovable is my current recommendation to people, and this could change weekly based on updates. But the reason is it's the most approachable of the three for somebody who's non-technical, for one major reason, is that it has like one-click Supabase setup. It's authentication, like your ability to link a database. I think in all of the design tools, when we talk about building robust prototypes, that is always something we wish we could simulate better for certain projects, to be like, look, this is how this would actually work in the wild. And I think that part is what Lovable gets really right. So if you can cross this still existing barrier to just jam up a couple of prototype type things, the fact that you can connect a database and have like a whole sign up flow and everything is wonderful. Now I've been thinking about this problem because I have teenagers. 2 of them have experience in the editor, but I've been thinking, how do I teach them how to think about this in like a material way? And that's kind of a project I'm trying to do right now. And that, because it is a problem, not just for like a 17-year-old, but for any designer who just has never built anything. But I think this year it's going to get insanely better for people like you to be able to adopt these tools. And maybe right now is not the best entry point for you. I think for a lot of people, though, including you, in the next, like, from the spectrum is probably right now to maybe summertime, it will be worth continuing to just tinker with it a little bit, so that the hardships you're experiencing right now, as those get better, you will see where it came from. And you'll be like, oh shit, like you'll have some point of reference for like this part used to be harder, and now that part's gotten easier. And I think there's a lot of learning that happens as you grow with these tools. That's kind of my call out for anyone wanting to play with this.
I think this is an interesting. Let me pause for a second. We'll kind of go through chat real quick. So yeah, Sear said, I'd be curious for Hunter to do a Design Joy ops audit to see where he would integrate AI. I can tell you that the one thing I could do, and this would be super simple for Brett to do. I don't know how Brett, do you spend a decent amount of time like updating Trello tickets?
I don't update Trello tickets.
You just share like the Figma link and then the customer.
They move it. Yeah.
Yeah, they move it. Okay. So
the only thing I do with the Trello card is input the Figma link and comment. That's it.
Okay. Do you share Loom videos often or anything like that?
I used to, not so much anymore. Depends on
Well,
it depends on the project.
Yeah. So yes, here it sounds like Brett's stack is so simple that there needs to be no ops audit. Like customer says something in
The whole
Trello,
point.
Brett reads it, Brett designs it, Brett shares link, move on. Like
That's it. Yeah.
it seems straightforward. V0 cursor, etc. do require a bit of coding knowledge so you can understand when they go in the wrong direction, which they often do. Yes. I think there's a lot of conversation to be had about the hallucinations that these tools have and the fuck ups that they make, because it is frequent. Probably talk about that in a sec. Bolton is fairly easy as long as you keep scope focus and give specific instructions on each component breakdown. That's any tool, Brett. I think at this time, Adrian says, ain't nobody got time for this. Adrian, you're my second favorite smartass in chat, and I will say to that, cool. We'll see why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. We're gonna skip him.
Speaking of your favorite,
my favorite smartass in chat. Hunter, screen record your sessions and put them on YouTube. If you actually scroll down on my Twitter profile, I have done this. I've gone live for a couple of hours here and there, and I've showed my process. Would it be worth anyone, and I mean anyone's time, since the tools are all so rapidly changing so fast, both with new tools and new features in tools?
Yes, but as somebody who has considered putting together any sort of tutorial on this stuff, it does have like a really rapid shelf life that you'd have to have like constant caveats. But if someone was like, I'm gonna go goblin mode for a week and bang out something with this tool, I still think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So to Brett's point, like let's unpack this, and maybe I'm going to get too heady here, but let's unpack it for a second. Again, all of these tools are just Cursor 3.5 under the hood, right? And supposedly today we're getting O3 Mini.
Claude 3.5, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, Claude 3.5 under the hood, which scores like a 49 on the software engine on the SWE benchmarks. DeepSeek R1 scores like a 49.2. O3 is supposed to start getting a lot better. I think, I wouldn't worry about the tools as much as I'd worry about the mindset of, if I can tap into what's pretty fucking close to like artificial super intelligence, right? If I can tap into that with a few keystrokes, how does my mental model change of how I can use language to describe what I'm looking for and think through things like it's a semantic tree of steps of like, okay, I want to build a background removal tool. Let me have the AI teach me what I need to know really quickly and make that really simple. Okay, let me break that into implementation steps. Let me make sure that that's broken into like simple instructions for each step. And then let's use a tool to accomplish those steps. So I think that the whole like mental model has to shift. And so that's where I would spend all of my time is thinking about, how is the landscape changing over the next few years? How can I learn to rethink my process for how I use tools to help me do things? Does that make sense, guys? Like, you see where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think my diagnostic here in terms of, again, I'm a recipient of how information is sold to me on Twitter for the most part. And I think there's a way that you approach selling the idea of building with AI to a developer or someone with some programming knowledge. But then the way you've been describing on this call is what I think has been absent from a lot of the conversation this is sort of like a design live stream for, primarily designers. And I think a lot of the information has been absent from the process. It's like we basically just told, hey, jump into Lovable, you can build anything you want to build. And it's that simple. And I think it makes a lot of us feel sort of inferior when we can't like accomplish that and as quickly as others say. It's because, my eyes have already sort of been open to how I would go about approaching this in a much different way now. And it's maybe the short form factor of Twitter, and being that, like, if you want to approach it very slowly and kind of explain it now, that's not what's going to get eyeballs and hype up the tools. I think there's just like this, I think just in general, I think we're never satisfied with selling AI in its current state. We're always, I feel like, borrowing months, weeks, years, and selling it in that form, versus being like, hey, like you can build a really cool app here, but you do need to know and understanding these things, and here's how to go about that. But because without, like, you like, for example, you just said it started building an app and it started building this other language. Someone like me, like, I wouldn't even know that's a red flag. Like, I'd be like, cool, keep going, right? Like, without that prior knowledge, you just don't know what you don't know.
The documentation process for working with Claude or ChatGPT to help you build some like step-by-step implementation plans, and then how to get the coding program, like, so in this case we're talking about Cursor or Windsurf, to regularly update documentation as it's going in a way that the human can understand and continue to feed it back into the AI so that it debugs with the correct context and does and reduces the amount of hallucinations. That part I don't see talked about enough. I feel like we're kind of the only ones who've really shown a little bit of that. And I think that's probably one of the most important parts of the entire thing right now.
I think that it's funny because that to me is a marker of somebody that's making AI content because they're trying to get views and they're trying to hype something up, versus somebody that's making AI content because they're actually fucking using it. You know what I mean? If you're actually using it, you're gonna be like, oh, there's this is jank. Like, we got to do some work to like get things above board. You know, one of the greatest things I've seen said on this this topic is from Sahil Lavingia, the guy that started Gumroad. Let me see if I can share my screen here. I cannot. Dude, what? Hold up. StreamYard's bugging out on me.
Uh-oh. I can use GPT for visual inspo ideas for certain web sections. I've done this before too. I've used it to help me like generate ideas for concepts.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't share my screen, so I'll just say this real quick. So his tweet that I love, he said, engineering 4 times faster, design 40% faster, prototyping 10 times faster, PM 40 times faster, which I think is an actually pretty accurate depiction of the advantages you can get from AI. The PM thing we'll talk about in a second, because somebody asked. Let's scroll up here because we got a lot of stuff. Whew. Okay, hold on. All right, here we go. Who do you think are more in danger as AI gets better, front-end devs or designers? Front-end devs, for sure. I don't think either of these are going anywhere though. Although check out onlook.com. What they've built is early. It's open source, but it's really interesting. So basically, it looks like Figma. I'll show it to you guys in a second. It looks like Figma. I open my dev environment, so my local host, for example, and it shows it to me in a Figma-like layout, and I can just start designing the actual code as if it was Figma, which is a really interesting solution. It still skips the how do I go from Figma to actual production code. I don't think anybody's doing that well at all, and I've tested all the solutions, but it's interesting. But I think Brett manually updates Trello to Airtable. Brett, do you do this? Automate that shit.
I've tried
with like Zapier and stuff.
Yeah, it's not as simple as you think. No.
All right, dude. We're gonna write a script in Cursor. This is gonna be one of the. This is gonna be one of the course modules.
My guess.
Yeah. Hunter, what PM tool do you guys use? We use Linear internally. Although I shared an idea last week on the show that we've started to build, which effectively says, basically, it's kind of just like a chat UI that uses an LLM to create context around what a product is, what the PRD looks like, things of that nature. As you tweak features or you kind of get user feedback or make iterations, whatever, you can just update those documents. It'll happen automatically, and it syncs everything from the text to linear. So it uses the API to put all the tasks in linear, so you don't have to do anything. Something we're starting to work on internally, which is really fun. There has to be an automation like Zapier / make behind. Brett just answered that. The answer is no. Love to see how off menu integrates AI. I just answered that. No knock at Brett, but I'm amazed at how simple the projects Brett work on sounds. Like I'm trying to imagine what type of work I'll be doing where like loom, etc., is not required. Brett, you want to address that?
Yeah. So I mean, I typically, I mean, anything excluding product design work, UX UI work, is usually not accompanied by a Loom video, unless we're just button heads on communication, asynchronously through Trello. If I'm delivering, for example, a dashboard screen, and not everything is always super apparent in terms of what the devs need to know in terms of how things behave and that sort of thing, it'll usually be accompanied by a Loom video. I just find that easier than documenting it down in Figma or whatever. But landing pages, branding concepts, it's just my Trello message is usually 3 words. Here you go. And I'll link to Figma.
Here you go, fucker.
No, I don't exclude the last part. Yeah.
I think you've discussed this before with us, but a lot of it too has been just how you've been setting the expectation up front as well.
Oh yes.
Like you've even talked about, like, as you've had the luxury of enough clients, that if people are just a fucking taking up all your bandwidth, you're like, I'm just gonna cut them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be really clear here. Like there is no mincing my words or expectations on the 15-minute call that I have with clients. You become very familiar with the way that I work. And it's at that point you make a decision whether you want to move forward or not. So yeah, there's not a lot of surprises, not a lot of pushback. Once they're integrated into the system, and they pretty much understand how things are going to go.
I love that. I love that.
It's not to be a jackass. It's not to be a jackass at all or to be harsh. It's just more like this is a solo operation. I can't run things like Hunter runs his business, right? It's totally different in all regards. And so in order to protect that and to be able to scale to the extent that I want, certain things have to be done certain ways.
Well, one of you is changing how you run your business, and the other one is standing firm. So that's an indicator.
One of us is trying to nuke the business, but that's a whole different conversation. I say that too. Like, I don't want people to get this misconstrued. Like, I'll joke about it on the show. It isn't really that simple. And Off Menu also is not the largest of the businesses that we run. So, it's a whole thing. I even use GPT for visual inspo ideas for certain web sections. I just give it the copy and see what ideas he can come up with in case I am stuck creative wise. That's an interesting approach. I'd love to see what that looks like.
Oh, what's up,
book.
Dan?
It's a primer for AI in general. Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. I mean, like, this is so on brand for Dan to come in and drop something like really insightful. Here's a book about co-intelligence. I love it. Thank you, Dan. I think these tools must also build 0 to 1 products and document everything about them, then show it to the world. And this way people would have something to follow and see if they get along with it. Agreed. Oh my God. There's just too much. How do we keep up with this? Very frequent prompt lately. What icons from Lucide work with this? And I just give him the text. Haha. Okay. Can I give you a pro tip, Rezvan? Drop Lucide, move to Phosphor. So whatever you're using to do AI code, say never use Lucide, use Phosphor. Give it the docs. Your life is going to be much better. They're much better icons. They just look way better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Lucide's great, but it's kind of ugly icons. Phosphor is pretty good.
Okay.
Pro tip, Patrick right here figured out that you can use central icons too as React components, which is pretty cool. Let's keep going. Built a SaaS around it. Would you build a SaaS around, Patrick? I want to know.
He's over there cooking.
Then we're tight deadlines. I sent Claude a doc with requirements, a couple things, and it developed things to a T. Worked like a charm. Sweet. I just paraphrased. Oh my God, guys, we're almost there. Gumlook is looking really good in terms of AI automation workflows. I'm excited to check it out. Yes.
Gumloop.
Do you guys ever do portfolio reviews? You know, I don't know that you want your portfolio reviewed by us. I'm just going to say that right now.
I don't think we're very helpful, and we're kind of assholes about it.
Yeah. Chrome just kicked me from the stream. I thought Hunter had enough.
Hunter has had enough, but you're still here.
I've had enough. What about Replit? Does a great job. You know, I don't see people talk about Replit a lot. And Replit's actually pretty good.
Is it? I haven't. So that's one I haven't used yet, and the UI kind of put me off a little bit.
It's pretty good, but it's really restrictive in the languages that it can actually use, which is
Hmm.
maybe why people don't go into it. I don't know. I don't like Phosphor so much. Well, shut up then. Let's see.
Are you talking icon collections here? What are we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Phosphor and yeah, those are icons.
Oh, yeah, I want hella roasted. Okay.
And they're kind of
All right.
they're kind of baked into the coding framework a little bit. Like React.
Sorry, gentlemen. We're caught up. We're caught up with comments. We
So,
did it.
so I want
All
to
right.
show you something, Brett. We're talking tools. Let's move away from the AI thing for a second. There's lots of AI. We'll always be talking about AI. But for those of you who I'm a tool guy. Like I'm a freaking psycho with tools. I love to play with them. I want early access. I think tools. I think all three of us have been in this game long enough. We've seen generations of new design tools come in. I think anyone who says that design tools aren't game changing and don't matter is just kind of gatekeeping and probably just masking the fact that they don't learn very well. I think the tools that continue to come out are elevating what is possible, and they really bring like new elements to your craft. And so one of those tools, this is not sponsored because the tool I'm gonna talk about it is a labor of love for one dude, and he's a sick dude. And the tool is this. It's Unicorn Studio. This is I implemented it a little bit here, right? Like, and I don't know if we can see this with clarity on the stream, but I've got this scrolling marquee up top in the header. The words chaos they get like manipulated, warped behind my avatar image, and then they come out and they say order. And there's a little bit of a distortion happening in the center. If I mouse over the words, they get pixelated. If I mouse over my face, it's glitched out. This all is rendered via WebGL. And WebGL is fantastic because unlike Flash, WebGL is a technology which was like originally started from a project from Mozilla in 2010, and it's now widely accepted. It's incredibly performant in browsers and on mobile. This website I think is like hundreds across the board for Lighthouse. It might be like a 98 or something. Now, what Unicorn Studio does, there's two ways that this can really level up your game. And it's huge, guys, because like I'm someone who has always geeked out on those people whose like titles in their Twitter profiles is creative coder. And some of these guys seem like absolute wizards. And I'm like, dude, that's so sick what you're able to do. And I just always felt like I couldn't accomplish that. Like things like this is a relatively simple example, but like that stuff I geek out over. It's called juice, right? Brad Woods calls it juice. It's the non-essential elements that just add a little extra oomph to your shit. Hunter's smirking at my yeah.
Okay. Can we pause for 1 second? Can we pause?
Go.
I think as active as Chad is getting these days, Tommy, you probably should disclose that you've not been paid by Unicorn Studio.
That was the first thing I said.
I don't think you explicitly said you hadn't been paid. So let's just go ahead.
You need a ticker at the bottom. Of the screen.
Yeah. Tommy
this
has
is not a
been
sponsorship.
Paid.
And listen, let's be clear. This is George Hastings, all right? And I recently just had a small combo with him. I was like, dude, please continue working on this because I can tell this is a labor of love. It's him, and it's only him. And this isn't even his full-time project. And I do not want this project to die because it's one of the like most innovative little tools I've played with in a long time. So this is me giving love to like someone who's just a solo designer and builder putting out what I think is a sick tool. This thing's not even open beta right now. This is Unicorn Studio. And so, for example, if you have a project for a client and you're like just banging some stuff out, Brett, you can accomplish this, what I just showed you on this website in like an hour. As you come in
roasted.
Am I getting roasted on Unicorn?
Yeah,
Guys, you're crazy. You're crazy. Look at this. Look at this.
Can we hook this up? If we're gonna make people sit here and listen to this, because this does look really cool. So if we're gonna ask people to sit and listen to this, can we at least have our boy George let everybody that watches the show get access to Unicorn?
So I asked him, I said, hey man, like because he's doing a new batch, he told me. I said, can I give access to like viewers and people? And he said, yeah, give me their emails, but I don't know how many he's going to allow that to be. But if you DM me and you want access to Unicorn Studio, I think he does these releases in waves. Yes. So the answer is.
So you heard him. So hop on Twitter, DM Tommy your email that you want access to Unicorn, and we'll hook him up.
Yeah. man, I just want to be able to talk about a tool without being called a shill. It's incredible, guys. And if any of you create a dope product, that is precisely what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about it because I think people like Brett would benefit from stuff like this. You don't know how to code, but you can implement something like what Base Dash did. Like these backgrounds that move with the cursor, this is Unicorn Studio. And so you come into Unicorn Studio, you can render these WebGLs, you can create these effects. Like this is a text layer. And I come over here and I can literally just say like design joy. And it has an effect. So I pause the animation. I can add it. So that's one thing. I can create these like CRT lines. I can create these hover effects that make it do this. When I export out, I come up here. I just hit export for embed. It literally has a Framer component, guys. I copy the Framer component. I come over to Framer. Whoops, this is Framer. And I just drop it in. I can paste it in, boom. And then you just add like your project ID to it. And then you position it just as you would any other layer. Now, and then all you have to do is you just hit play to preview the actual result in Framer. You do that in an hour. Your shit looks just wonderful. It's a beautiful tool. Designers who have the ability to render these WebGL effects, it's just like it's a new thing that is going to make your designs look so fucking good. I highly recommend it. So if you want access to this, let me know. Brett, I'm telling you, you make some WebGL stuff and you post that on Twitter alongside the stuff you're doing. It's easy content, man. It is easy content.
I agree. I've held the view for a couple of years now. I think to go even broader, I think motion in general is such a differentiator for designers. It just makes static stuff look so boring. So I mean, I'm a fan. I looked at what you just built and the structure of it, and I have no freaking clue what's going on in there.
It took me a second to get my head wrapped around it a little bit, and there's no content online that really shows you how. But I'm like, dude, maybe I just need to make a couple tutorials because I want this project to succeed. It is so slick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised I haven't heard about it. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that I would definitely check out. I mean,
hey, let me know. I'll get you. I'll see if George will give you access to the beta. It's just like it's
sure.
wild.
I mean, it looks easier than learning After Effects. So
yeah, that's the thing, man. Like it does take a second. Just truly, I just really want every designer to just pick 1 week in a month, go goblin mode, grow a nasty beard, don't brush your teeth for like 2 days, and just dig in obsessively to some brand new tool, AI tool, Unicorn, Rive's my next thing that I'm going to go hard into. I love this shit.
Yeah, skill stack.
Brett, I want you to use this tool so badly. I do though. I want this tool to succeed. I guarantee. I'm just so worried that Unicorn Studio is either going to get acquired immediately, which Framer should probably acquire them, or he's going to burn out and not finish it. And I don't really want either of those situations to happen right now.
Yeah, I mean, what Webflow just acquired? What did they acquire? They acquired some animation. Yeah, that was a huge acquisition. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I'm a fan of anybody bringing this very complex, what otherwise would be very complex programming down to a designer's level and making it intuitive. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff.
And again, I think motion is the name of the game nowadays, and a lot of designers don't have it. So,
yep. What else is on our hit list?
I have the whole resident. I have a whole bunch.
What else do you want to shill?
I have a whole bunch of DeepSeek, right? Like we can't listen. Everyone has already heard about DeepSeek. We would be doing it a disservice if we didn't talk about it. And this is part of the conversation about why I think, and Hunter, I think you too. I think this year is going to be wild, dude, because Trump just pulled the guardrails off of the ability to innovate for the companies out here, and then DeepSeek came on scene and just forced a lot of hands. And who's already integrating DeepSeek? Everyone. Windsurf announced it. Hunter texted me and he goes, "Hey, I'm switching over to Windsurf because they implemented DeepSeek." I sent him a message back. Not 14 minutes later, Cursor tweeted, "We just implemented or integrated DeepSeek."
Well, they already had.
Like, oh, shit.
Hold on, they already had.
Oh, they had. Okay.
It's still not a
tweet was
part of the
14 minutes
agent.
after that text you sent me.
Yeah, it's still not a part of the agent. Dude, I talked about this last week on the show. I said, fucking DeepSeek, man. I just bought a new MacBook Pro. I did my whole 64 versus 120 gigs RAM.
Yep.
DeepSeek comes out. I'm like, I gotta run that shit locally. And I bought another MacBook Pro that's fully maxed out, and I gotta return this one. So thanks, DeepSeek.
Andreessen says R1 is one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs I've ever seen. I mean, high marks from a lot of people in the community.
I think what's most interesting to me about DeepSeek from a design perspective is the UX of the reasoning. I think actually seeing DeepSeek reason, especially locally when it's not connected to the internet. Like I don't know if people have seen this. Yeah, this is This Week in AI. But it's crazy. Like, I love the people that for Today in Design, somebody will be like, this is too much AI, I'm out, and they'll unsubscribe. And I'm like, good riddance. Like, fuck off. Like, the world's changing, you know? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are, Devin. That sounds like a little like Pizzagate-y to me, but it's probably true. But locally, like if you run it yourself, then they can't do shit. So,
and that is an interesting question too, by the way, the open source software versus like CCP ran thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, no company in the AI space right now is like doing this just out of the goodness of their heart. Everyone's trying to gain something. Totally makes sense. I'm not even necessarily opposed to it. The CCP part is what I think a lot of people are afraid of. But on the other side of it, they just open source to this. And that is generally just wonderful for humanity overall and all of us. So it's hard to be like, yeah, it is CCP owned, but it's also doing this, like it's doing a service, even if it's not coming from the most like goodness of their heart place. So, you know, two things.
Do you see it? Do you see a future possibly on the sort of the whole TikTok thing happening to this potentially?
Like them coming after.
Is that a risky run if you start?
Well, the thing is that
on top of this thing.
Well, the thing is this can be integrated locally, and you don't need an internet connection. Like you can essentially cut off the ability for this to feed over to what would essentially be like what we're concerned about. Whereas you have to actually go to TikTok servers to view TikTok content. Everything's stored and staying on their servers. This is open source. You can install this locally and cut off all access of it, sending data back to a server somewhere. It just stays with you. And that's what a lot of companies are already doing, because this thing has been shown that it is already scrubbed for certain Chinese propaganda, and people are already training that part out of it for their local models.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, if you look at any instances in the US, I think somebody just said this, Scott did. Perplexity's implementation of DeepSeek is fully local. Yeah. So even if you see like Cursor or Windsurf or anybody about that, they'll call out that this is hosted on Western servers, US servers. This is interesting. I have trouble with statements like AI is reasoning. I would challenge that by saying go use it. Right. Like I don't know why I can't share my screen right now, and I'm not going to restart my browser mid-show. But I would show it to you locally and you'd be blown away. Actually, can we do an experiment? Tommy, can I guinea pig you?
Let's do it.
Will you Google Ollama? OLLAMA?
Oh, it went to
download this bad boy.
Is this what it's supposed to take me to?
Yeah. Download this.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah, download.
Okay.
Yep. Now, while this downloads, I want you to Google Ollama DeepSeek. Okay, this is going to blow everybody's mind real quick. I want to show you the frontier of technology here. So it's going to show you the distilled versions of DeepSeek. Just click top link.
Top link.
Yep. Click that one. So it's going to show you the distilled versions here. So you go from like 1.5B to like, I think it's 67 or something. Or I think you can actually go all the way up to
right here.
Okay. Yeah. So how much RAM do you have on your computer? Like, let's just be simple. Let's use 8B. Okay. Now I would say scroll down a little bit. Yeah. So whatever. Yeah. So there's the code right there. Ollama run DeepSeek R1. And you're just going to run the 8B version below. Right. All right, so let's install Olama now that it's downloaded.
All right, let's do this.
This is literally going to take us 2 seconds, and it's just crazy. Like, I don't care if you're a designer.
I only
or
have the
what.
browser pulled up, so I'm gonna have to share screen here to do this.
Okay. Well, if you install Olama, right,
Uh-huh.
and you just run it in your terminal real quick, all you have to do, you just take that line where it says Olama run DeepSeek. You'll just literally run that, and DeepSeek it'll download. It's probably somewhere around the tune of like 5 gigs for that distilled version. Obviously, for everybody listening, it's going to increase. Shut up, Devin. It's going to increase exponentially as you like go up the rankings. But then you are just running it locally on your computer without a connection to the internet. And it's fascinating because it is going to be right there on your computer, reasoning, thinking, whatever.
I didn't realize
No
it was
charge.
that easy to install. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to go like look
No, dude,
this
it's
up
that easy.
later. Holy shit.
Is that easy?
You guys can't see it. I've got my terminal pulled up. It is still kind of downloading right now. Actually, this download says it's a 3-hour download. What the fuck?
Your internet sucks. What's wrong with your
Why is that so long? What am I downloading? What did you just make me install here, Hunter?
Dude, 5 gigs is a lot.
Am I
Did you
sending
do the
everything?
8B?
I did this one. Oh, I did 1.67.
Wait, what? Oh,
Whatever
no,
it is.
stop that. No. That's 671. You're trying to download the entire model. That model is the non-distilled. That would have to run on like, dude, that would have to run on a fucking farm of H100.
Okay, yeah, this is a minute.
Have you seen those videos where somebody like tries to open all the games on their PC and their PC blows up? That's what's happened to you.
Just save Tom's PC.
Yeah,
Stop
8B, dude. 8B.
Yeah, so 8B is downloading. It's got a minute left. This is slick, man.
Yeah.
Now,
and so,
here's the question. DeepSeek, not that good, maybe.
it's really good.
Now here's the thing. You said it scores about the same marks as 3.5 Sonnet for developer tests.
Yeah.
I have used DeepSeek superficially in the ways like I've used Claude for just some other little task things, like thinking. And it feels like, so far, it feels like a faster O1. That's kind of what I've experienced so far. But I do agree. I love being able to see the actual reasoning of things.
Mm-hmm.
That Cox cable. I do have Cox cable.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
I definitely think O1 Pro is smarter. But the reason you'd want this locally is if you're doing anything that's development that requires AI, you're not having to make calls to the API, which in this case would be like DeepSeek servers in China. You can host it locally, not have to pay for any tokens. So it just makes testing and development free. Yeah, there we go. And security as well. But yeah.
So
and you can also fine tune it.
If models are no longer the moats of AI products, where are the moats?
How it makes somebody feel. And this is why it's so special, dude. This is why designers have an opportunity. And I'm shouting from the rooftops that designers need to build more shit. What matters is how it makes somebody feel to use the product, like the utility it adds to their life. Ask DeepSeek about Tiananmen Square. Devin, we've all seen the tweets. We get it, dude. It's censored.
You can train it out. You can train
it out. You can also just trick it.
Smack it. You can trick it. How do you trick it?
Yeah, you can tell it to you can tell it to write where it's using numbers for letters, and then you ask it the question, and it'll answer in full detail with numbers as letters.
So Hunter shared with me a screenshot of a conversation he was having with one of the AIs last night. And it sounded so cool. Like that AI was so cool. Like that definitely was a popular kid in high school. And I was like, man, the new Keeping Up with the Joneses is going to be like, who's got the cooler fucking robot? I'm like, why does my robot talk to me that way? That's so cool.
I think this would be exciting for Brett to see, because then maybe this would get Brett more in the AI ropes. But basically, I talk to AI all day, like all day. It's really critical to my work. And I've been building a lot of things, and I was just bored with talking to Cursor all fucking day, and my like raycast shortcut and snippets. It just felt so stale. And so I started tweaking around and like writing new rules for it, and got to a place to where it's basically unhinged now. So it shows its frustration and it'll be like, fuck, like, why isn't this working? Like, it's so funny. It's really good.
Speaking of people building in Europe, yeah, that's tough. I haven't been on Twitter all week. I don't know. I'm on a dopamine break. No plug, but we made a simple brand color generator with Claude and used Webflow to release it. 3 hours of work. I love that. Run the model and show us. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to share certain parts of this. I am awful. We'll pull that up in a second, but I want to call something out, and this is another reason why I like calling out these tools, and I'm not going to go through a whole tool spiel, but I do like highlighting when you guys in the audience and just people across X or elsewhere who are designers are building some dope shit. Maybe we'll convince Brett here that this is in fact possible. So Cole launching like little products, the Mile Bar. I don't know. I don't really know what this is, but I think it's dope that there's more designers releasing stuff like this. And these products, as small and niche as they are just looking really good for small things. Now I think we've seen this. I've seen the design for Week Stack, but this goes to show you, Hunter, like everyone's got a freaking to-do list, you know?
Everybody, dude. That's why it's one of the most exciting things, because it's so personal.
Speaking and even like Joy Planner, we saw the Joy Planner, right? They finally like released this thing too.
Ooh, looks good.
You like that, Brett? Hunter's not a fan of this.
Dude, like, no, I'm a fan of Hunter building a to-do app because I think it is one of the most simple things to build, but no one has just totally nailed it.
It is not simple.
No,
it's not simple.
It's a simple concept. I shouldn't say it's simple to necessarily build and get right because no one's done it so far.
So sorry, Brett, go ahead, dude.
No, go ahead. That was it.
Well, I was gonna say, so I did do it. So I did do it. I have had to pause because unfortunately I have real life work to do. But I did it, and then this is an interesting, I guess, learning for me and maybe teaching moment externally. I looked at it and I said, okay, well, I like this feature from Things, or I like this from Todoist, or I like this from Notes, or like whatever. And so I went heads down and I just started building them. And it was like I was lost in the sauce, just having fun again, building something, just going from I want this thing to like, let me make it. And then I stopped and I looked at it all and I was like, oh, this is fine, but like, I don't know, is this actually like, is this what's next? Is this what feels like the right solution? And so I spent a lot of time kind of going back to the drawing board and saying like, okay, if I was actually going to build a productivity app for myself, right? Because I like basically fuck all y'all. Like I just care about myself in this instance, right? Like I'm building it for me. What do I want? And so when I got more clarity on the answer to that question, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start over. And so I'm chipping away at it here and there. But yeah, I'll get there eventually. But I think the future of this productivity, actually, this is great. Speaking of Mark Andreessen, the don't do list is actually a productivity hack. But yeah, I think the future of it looks a lot like just being able to capture context from anywhere. Being able to use your voice to just say like, oh, like here's this thing, and AI figure out if it's a to-do app or if it's a note or like whatever. I think that's really interesting. So I'm excited to see if people build more stuff in that space.
Hey, I'm going to call this out. I wanted to create a post showing my tech stack, and I was like, I wanted to create like a doc bar and have all my apps the way you see on social media posts.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really want to design that in Figma. So let me just create a tool that'll put it all together. And that is precisely what I did here. Where are my icons? And so I kind of went and just grabbed those, popped them in. And I was like, but I want to be able to change it back. Maybe make it like Twitter size. And then I want to be able to come in and like do like a nice little gradient or something. And so the last thing I need to do is just like have an export that screenshots this, which I've already got the technology set up. This is pretty much done. Now I'm just kind of dicking around with it. but just a little fun thing, right? And I did
I like
actually
that.
just screen capped this for it, but yeah, and you can even drag and drop these guys a little bit. A lot of some UX stuff that could be better, but just fun things to build. On the other side of it,
This was cool. I liked
yeah,
this.
yeah, it's like so it's like a hunter gets really excited for like real tangible products, and I do too. But I love seeing just the tinker stuff, man. This is cool. I love anyone who's just going around and just like distorting Dan Petty's image here. You know what I mean? Hunter's negative meme is on his desktop for constant easy access. Oh yeah, it's going to be framed and put up on an office somewhere.
I'm gonna actually I'm going to put that in the HQ once it's done.
Yes, yes.
We're about a month out, so yeah.
Tom Johnson, one of my favorite designers working today, but just love this Framer, Cursor AI, and Claude 404 game. So your page 404 is out, and you can play asteroids apparently, which is awesome. Like, this is cool. Love seeing this shit. Big fan. And then finally, so V0, man, they are. I'll tell you what. I don't like V0 as much as Lovable. But
like
V0 is the sexiest because I think Vercel is a sexy company.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
I
And
love Vercel. I could live
yes,
without V0.
that's how I feel too. Now, I like the spot treatment thing that V0 does. Lovable's already introducing that, I think. But RID did a poll asking people what was most exciting of all the tools they've seen. So this is the V0 out here promoting the fact that someone built like a media player with it. And I want to find RID's poll because I'm curious if this resonates with everyone. So if you're a designer, what tool are you most excited about right now? With 44% out of 1,300 responses saying V0, followed by Claude, Lovable, and then Replit Agent just like sitting at a lonely 7%. I think you guys should be more. I think you guys should be more excited about Lovable. Like the designers who aren't full-blown coding backgrounds, I think you should be more excited about Lovable right now.
Yeah, but going back to Brett's point earlier about the background removal tool, I would say, yeah, be excited about Lovable if you're trying to build some kind of a full stack application. If you're trying to say like, how can I create like a really sick prototype in V0 with like interaction design or whatever, I think V0 is kind of the place to play for that. So I don't know. I get the answers to this poll.
Which wins, V0 versus Lovable?
On that note, I have something to say there. I think one of the disconnects, at least again, only speaking for myself here, maybe other designers, I don't know. I have yet to see anything remarkably good looking come from any of these tools. And I think like it's cool that I can get something to kind of work in a really hacked about way, but it doesn't look good. And therefore it doesn't excite me. And I don't know how to get it to look good at that point. And so I think as just a purist designer, right? Like I don't necessarily wake up every day wanting to build something new. I just want to make shit look good, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I do. I love Figma. I'm content in Figma. If these tools, you could prompt it in such a way to get the aesthetic styling that you want, and it'll inevitably get there. It's just not there today and nowhere close, I don't think. And I think that's what doesn't get like me and other people that excited about it, because it's like it produces very poor looking results that kind of work. Unless I'm wrong. I mean, maybe there's stuff out there. And I think if you have programming background, you can definitely massage it into that a little bit better.
I think it's a reasonable take. I think it is hard to get things to look good. I mean, ShadCN, Radix, all these component libraries that pair with Tailwind, you can get decent, but they don't look very differentiated. And then what I'm finding is finessing the little details is a bit tedious when you want to get that UI looking like your Figma file. There's a lot of room in that space, I think, still.
Which is where OnLook comes in.
I haven't looked at OnLook. It's onlook.dev.
Onlook.com. But also just I don't know. I guess the only thing I would say there is like, as a designer, that like I agree with you, Brett. But as a designer, whatever you make in Figma, ultimately, like somebody has to sweat those small details and turn it into code to make it look
Sure,
good,
but
right?
why should I have to do that?
You don't have to do that. But if you want to build your own thing, you have to do that.
I
you
bet
know?
this was
If
made
you
in
do, right, yeah.
Unicorn Studio. See, you can do this in Unicorn Studio. I'm just saying. Look how dude. This is fun.
I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
I think
It's pretty good.
that's cool. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you guys are so zeroed in on AI, and I think it's for good reason. And I think you guys have personally seen and experienced the power of it every single day.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm in the minority here, but I just want to design. Is that a bad thing? Is that going to
No.
put me behind everybody else eventually? Like I'll use AI certainly. Like I think AI is in its worst state as it'll ever be. It'll only obviously get better. And I could see a world where it's integrated more closely and intimately into my everyday life and workflow, even outside of design, but especially in design. But right now, like, I don't know. I disagree with Hunter being like, when you say Figma doesn't excite you anymore, I think for a lot of designers, it still does. Now, for a lot of builders, certainly, I would agree with you. I don't know. I think I sense that you guys are trying to figure out like why everyone's not like coming behind you and like being as excited and as hyped up about it as you are. And I think there's legitimate reasons behind it.
No, dude,
just
I want people to sleep on it because it gives me that much more time to get ahead.
You're probably right about that.
I hear you, Brett. I totally hear you. I will say this though. There is a divide. And this is what I'm seeing across socials. So this is made by, and by the way, I am going to shill something. We're launching our community, which opens doors next week. And it's a community for builders, for designers who are trying to ship, and for people who are building. Doesn't matter if it's with AI or not. But the point is that when I put this kind of bat signal out and I said, hey, we're opening the doors on a community and it's only for designers who are trying to build, my DMs have been flooded with people stoked about that idea. And it's not everyone. I mean, it's a fraction of my million person follower count. But the people who are reaching out are like heavily invested into it. So but I want to be clear. I'm not like Hunter where I think everyone should do this thing. It's just exciting to me. And I'm more interested in just surrounding myself with other people who are tinkering and building and finding it fun as well. But I'm not nearly as negative as Hunter. I'm just a Unicorn Studio shill. So that's the difference here. This whole episode has been convincing Brett to use AI. What's better, Tommy Unicorn Studio or Notion? Hey, so Notion's head of design, Hunter. You know where he just went?
I do.
Yep. Notion's head of design. Notion is Hunter's favorite product for those who don't know. Just left Notion to go head design at Hunter's favorite AI tool, Cursor. And I'm so excited for it. How do you feel about it?
I don't care.
No? Okay. Cursor could use some love.
Cursor could use a lot of love, but it's also just
where did Cursor go? I feel like Cursor was like everywhere. Now it's nowhere.
That's
how fast things change in this. Yeah.
Cursor.
I mean, I'm curious who's going to be the incumbent by the end of the year. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, there'll probably be 100 incumbents by then.
I'm gonna tell you who's gonna keep winning. It's gonna be fucking Anthropic and OpenAI. That's who's gonna keep winning. Because every time you use one of those tools, guess who you're paying?
True.
It's crazy, dude. Anyways, what do we got here? What is this Goosebumps thing?
Yep.
Have you added the audio to it yet?
I didn't. I put it on my Instagram story with the Goosebumps song though, because when you said Goosebumps, I was like, it's perfect.
Brett, what do you think about Made By? Not the design of it, just conceptually.
So, I don't know too much about it. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're kind of looking to build a better indie hacker platform. Maybe with a specificity around designers, maybe not.
Yeah, you've probably thought about it as much as we have at this point, but yes,
I I owe a lot to indie hackers in a platform like that. That's where I launched DesignJoy, got my start. I am saddened to see what it has become today.
Mm.
So I am looking forward, I guess, to a new take on it, hopefully a simpler take on it. And I think the biggest challenge that you'll have is building a community inside of it, getting adoption.
I
That's
think
always
that's
the crux, right?
the most interesting part is this idea of software. I don't want to say software as a community because that seems kind of, I don't like that. But like there is something to be said about, because that was what was so great about indie hackers product hunt, was like, oh, I'm with like my people, like this is awesome.
Yep.
We can share tips, we can knowledge share, and I love that. Well, I have a question for you guys too about this. We open the doors on this thing, we're gonna have maybe like 100 people we let in on this first wave. Slack or Discord, guys? If you're part of a community, I use Slack every day, so it's like that's what I've been defaulting to, but Slack is a really shitty platform for a community. It's great for like business collab. I'm just curious, what do you guys think? Is Discord the move for a community like this, or like should you keep it in a tool like Slack for familiarity? I know you used to have a community in Discord, Brett. Do you still? What did you think of Discord?
Me personally, I don't like either. I don't like Discord or Slack. I'd rather have a community built into the tool itself.
Discord is chaos. Yeah.
I think Discord is chaos. Slack is certainly less chaotic, but I don't know.
Unicorn Studio.
Yeah, I think just from being a simpler guy by nature, I would go Slack, but I chose
I can't do
Discord
the
'cause I didn't know what the hell I was
circle in
doing.
the school communities. As much as like I've tried to make circle and school communities work, those
You
platforms.
talking about Circle that I use? Yeah, Circle's terrible.
I don't like circle. School was like kind of interesting, but still,
Yeah.
I don't know. I want something that's like it just feels native to the phone, feels native to my desktop.
I think we just have to do whatever Devin does.
That goes. What'd you say? Vibes like with us?
No, we have to do whatever Devin says. Whatever.
Oh,
platform
whatever Devin says. That's basically how I run most of my career.
Yeah. Ethan said
So-
build
so
one and
let-
lovable.
Build one and
So let me get this right. You're going to have the made by site, but then you're going to have a spin-off, like the community aspect.
Community is a
is
live
going to
knowledge
live.
share where people can hang out and talk topically. The thing about the
Okay.
Discord or Slack is it's going to be very anti-promotional. The promotional
Okay.
part's going to live on the site. That's where you go to promote your products. And the thing about the things you make that you put on the site is the top ranking stuff. Hunter and I are going to promote the fuck out of those things. Like that's kind of the carrot that's
Yeah.
chased on that, because I love talking about really great tools. We're going to talk about it on the show. We're going to put it in our newsletters. I'm going to make videos about it, because the whole purpose of this is to like, hey, if you're a designer making dope shit, we want to platform you. So that's a small gimmick, and it's a small piece of this whole thing, which hopefully is much more useful over time. But even that by itself, I mean, guys, people pay me $6,000 to make a single video, or you could rank your product on Made By, and I'll blast it out there for free.
Hold
And
on,
I
you just got $6,000 to talk about Unicorn Studio in this
Shut
episode?
up. Shut up. I don't even know if he has the budget to fund that right now, right? That's just a kindness because that tool deserves. I know you're
Where's my
trolling.
math?
I'm gonna fucking lose my damn mind. But you know what I mean? Like, so that's the gimmick though. But my hope is, because I always get I get people in my DMs are like, hey, I got this tool. We talk about it on UX Tools, the newsletter we have. And I'm like, I used to get in such a place where it was like, this is my revenue stream, promoting people's products. I don't want to fuck with that. But then I had a change of heart, and I'm like, dude, but if designers are like not funded and they're just grinding, trying to build something dope, I actually feel really good about platforming those people. So how do I do that? Like, how do I build an operation around that? So like the guys with money pay me, and the designers are the indie dudes who are just trying to build the thing, and like it's a weekend project or it's a side hustle. Like, how do I help them on the dollar of the big guys? That's how I've been thinking about it.
Question on this. Algorithm. Are you going to have algorithms based around the sort order of products listed on here? like
I mean,
Product Hunt has, or is it going to be very just vote based?
Vote based, probably starting.
Thank
out.
you. For the love of God, please.
Yeah,
I think that's where Product Hunt went wrong.
I agree.
Their algorithm you'd have 700 upvotes and the product would be above you with 150 because they had more traction the last hour. Terrible.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll have to deal with like gamification, people gaming how simple it is. I'm sure we'll deal with all those network effect things that we have to. And who knows what that ends up looking like.
Spam's gonna be fun.
Well, and so I was gonna ask you, Hunter, like, what do you? I know we had our mock-ups originally were products, and then there was a tab for like resources. So if like you're curating resources, and Hunter's like, fuck resources, we don't want to be like a resource site necessarily. But I kind of feel like products.
Huh? Have you looked at the most recent designs?
No, hear me out. I kind of, so I no, I haven't. Products, and I almost feel like we need like a playground tab, or something where people who are just building and making fun like little things, like Sam Pate's countdown of the year before it was like a launched iOS widget. That would have been a cool thing to just have in like a playground tab. And I don't know what you think about that, but I thought that could be like a really interesting thing.
It feels to me,
because you're going to have a made by portfolio with your projects.
Yeah.
You're probably going to want a place where you can show just like things you're tinkering on too, right?
Yeah. I'm just thinking out loud here. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation while Brett's here, because I think Brett's got a good brain for this. What if there were two sides, right? There was the front-facing directory that's projects submitted by people to be used, right? Or resources even. And those rely on upvotes. And then there was the other side, which was more of what like designer news or indie hacker news was back in the day, to where it's just like, it's almost Reddit-esque in a way, where it's a post that gets upvoted and replied to. And that's how you think about like the community action happens over here. And if you hit this tab, you're back in like, this is really,
really leaning into like the fact that it's indie hackers and Product Hunt had a baby.
Yeah. Like, why not?
Right. This is a good question. And the truth is,
this is an AI profile.
This is
calling it out. Anyways.
No, the truth is we don't know. And I don't even think this is necessarily meant to be the monetization play. We've talked about this at length. The goal that Hunter and I have, like the dream, is that we just have a media company umbrella with a lot of different ways to distribute. And maybe this is just one of those strong ways for us to distribute our ideas. And so the media side, outside of like paid sponsorships, doesn't really need to be the revenue generator. What we're hoping is we build a strong media umbrella so that we can create our own products that help people like you. And that's where the monetization plays come into part. That's how we've been thinking about it. That may change, but that's how we've been thinking about it.
Yeah. So this is a good question. And I kind of love that Yasir asked this, because this is one of the core
I love that
features that we've talked about, is like, how do you find contributors? So let's say that your project is in motion. Like, I'll use Brett, for example. Brett, about a year ago, shared the idea of like Active, of building like his own thing for managing client work. And it kind of went viral here on Twitter, and there was probably a lot of inbound. But what if Brett had shared that on Made By and was like, I'm kind of building this thing, who wants to get in on this with me? Like, who can help me? And then people could actually say like, hey, I'd love to collaborate on this. And Brett can look at their profiles and be like, oh, they've like shipped these things or whatever. So ways that, you can kind of bring resources together, I think is really interesting.
Love that idea.
Design Joy account is suspended on X. This is what shows me when I check his account.
That's not how you spell joy.
That's not how you spell joy. I don't know what that person's saying. All right, hold on. .eth. It's another AI account.
What are we attracting?
I love the idea of bringing back designer news. I think the only reason that the community just died, I mean, the tool died out itself, and the community kind of followed it. But there's a huge need, I think, for something like that.
Yeah, I'm very curious about. I just don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of designers who act like pussies in the forums. I get fucking sick and tired of that. And there's so many designers in this community that are soft as fuck, and I do not want to hang out with those people at all.
Can I get Tommy so negative in the chat, please?
It comes from, I had a friend in my Slack group today said he was paid by some designer, does one-on-ones, and sent this girl a video of her like feedback on her portfolio, and he was super kind in it. Like, he was very constructive and all these things. And she sent back, I want my money back. Like, what you basically just told me I'm a shitty designer. And she is. Yeah. But he, in the best constructive way, was like giving her tips on this. And I'm like, dude, some designers get so butthurt and are such pussies. And it's, I do not want to be around those people. Like, if you have a sensitive ego and you are a pussy, I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want you in our community. I don't want you to buy my products. Like, that's not, anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah, I think you find that earlier on in the career than later on. I think that comes with maturity and experience. But yeah,
Devin says soft boy here. I know that.
Yeah.
Devin.
This sounds like a really warm, empathetic, and welcoming community. Is what I'm picking up on.
I mean, listen, if you're going to be a builder, you do have to have a little bit of a thick skin, because it's not an easy game. It is not an easy game.
No, it's not.
All right. I like it. Ivan says, take my money.
There you go.
Right. Cool. Yeah, we got to figure it out. I mean, Brett, I don't know, man. I'm signing up for Design Julie right now. I'm dropping this as some Trello tasks. You got to ideate. What are you doing, man? Are you can you pull up the designs, Tommy? Can we pull up these bad boys? And if anybody talks shit about this green, I will ban you immediately.
It only reinforces that green is happening.
Yeah, I know. Like, you guys don't understand how much you're feeding the fire here.
Give me a second.
Brett's so bored. He's like, guys, can I leave yet?
No,
like, we haven't talked about Call of Duty or Pokemon cards yet, guys.
Out the entire show, Brett. You're just like punishing yourself, I guess.
Oh yeah. You pulling up something?
I am. Give me a second here. This is a whole process. Oh, that's not the right file.
Okay. Well, never mind.
No, I got it. No,
okay.
Just patience.
What
am I looking for here?
I love this green. Well, on the, we have go back to the homepage real quick. Just thinking. So I guess the question here is, like, we've talked about the feed of projects, which is in a lot of ways like similar to a product hunt would be. Mm-hmm. My question is, like, for the people in the chat that are paying attention, like, this is really being built for you. So my question here is, yes, that's correct, Alex. Cloud light themes can go fuck themselves. My question here is, like, should we just build the community side of this right in the app?
Yes, maybe. Right. I mean, listen, I think both should exist. I think the asynchronous, like, easy, live, free-flowing conversation should still exist in some chat platform. And then we do have essentially a forum here for more sticky, referenceable, evergreen conversations. I think it makes, like, Indie Hackers.
Yeah.
Indie Hackers was useful that way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you get quality contributions too. I want the chat to be quality as well, but that's a little more, I think there's like a more casual thing to that, which is cool.
Yeah, because I think what made Indie Hackers so successful was the fact that you had the ability to, I know this is a very controversial topic, but build in public, right? So I think there's definitely some value in visibility into your process and seeing the behind the scenes versus just saying, hey, here's the end product and go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I as far as the community goes, I don't know. It's probably a shit ton of work to build that into the product, but I definitely see some viability there.
AI baby,
I know, but to really do it though. I mean,
no, it's actually not that hard.
whatever.
I'm just keeping it
You
real.
would
It's
say
not.
that.
We'll launch this and we'll see where that's at. I think. I mean, listen, I'm opening the doors on this chat group next week, and I'm only doing it for 100 people, no more. And we've already got, I think, I have to go through and look at the applications because we do have some people who are like, I've been thinking about building a thing, and I'm like, cool. I'm gonna have to tell them like, come back when you've built it, because there's got to be some level of vetting. I don't want just a bunch of like wantra builders.
Patrick says
Yep.
embed, discuss, and call it a day. I would do that, but I've already built the chat functionality, so don't need to. Actually,
You built chat functionality?
Well, sorry, the commenting
Comments.
functionality. Discuss is
Comments.
commenting. My bad.
Damn it.
Yeah.
The wantrepreneurs. How do I apply? Andrew, send me a DM.
What do you guys got going on this weekend as we depart and get ready to wrap
We
up?
are
the show?
winding
Any
down.
big plans?
Son's state championship wrestling match. I leave literally as soon as we have to go north to Prescott. We leave right after this live.
Ooh,
That's where Brett lives.
nice. Well, I live. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I live in Phoenix, not Prescott, but yeah.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half drive. So we're there today and tomorrow. What about you guys?
I'm gonna sit
Go
in
for
my
it, Hunter.
I'm gonna sit in my pajamas and work all weekend. That's my big plan. And take care of small children at the same time.
And talk to your cool fucking personalized AI. So
Yeah.
I want to know what prompt what is the build for that?
I'll share it with you. Yeah, I'll share.
Do you ever take weekends off?
Rarely.
How long have you been going like that?
Forever. There's this I think it was George Mack that tweeted this the other day, and I loved it. But if you look through history, I'm not comparing myself to these people, but they're just interesting examples. Like Churchill, for example, would work like 16 hours a day, but he would sleep in late. He'd start his day working from bed, dictating things to his assistant. He'd take a nap in the middle of the day. He'd be fucking drinking while he's working, but he's working all throughout the day, right? Like, I think for me, I can't get myself to do, like, I'm not emailing and slacking and doing documents on the weekends. Like, I don't do that. Like, it's like torture for me to do those things. But if I'm actively building something, which like
Fun
right
stuff.
now, now we're doing a lot of different things. So I find ways to entertain myself throughout the day as I'm working, or I'll stop for a little bit and take a break, like whatever. I think there's just the idea of like burnout or work-life balance is a bunch of bullshit. So I don't do that. Yeah.
You think burnout's bullshit?
I think
that was a casual hot take right
Lord.
there.
No. I think you absolutely can burn yourself out. And I've done that many times. But what I mean is that if you create the space for yourself to do the things that give you energy, even if it's work related, right? If you create the space to give yourself energy, and then you don't guilt yourself for taking the micro breaks that you want to, like, I don't know, watch a TV show for something for an hour or like whatever it is, I think you're able to stretch that amount of time a lot. But yeah, it has to be something that's like pretty high agency, pretty relevant to like the things that are interesting you, or that's like feeding your curiosity versus just like rote
Fair.
work, you know?
Fair.
So that's how I look at it for me personally. That's what I've learned. I used to be like, oh my God, I got to set up like Opal and not distract myself, for like, I got to block YouTube for an hour, but it's like, what's it fucking matter if I open YouTube in a side window while I'm still working? You know what I mean? Like, Brett, I think you watch like streamers, you watch like Twitch all day long, right? Yeah.
All day long.
What's wrong with that? Yeah. So I do little things like that to kind of entertain myself as I'm working. So that's what I do. I'm ignoring chat right now.
Who are you?
They're all a bunch of softies.
Who do you watch, Brett?
I mean, so I'm a big video game guy, so I watch just video game streamers mostly.
I know who.
Well, I hate to admit it. I used to be a huge Dr. Disrespect guy.
Yeah.
Until all that shit went down.
Sure.
And now I'm kind of
I could see some Dr. Disrespect being weaving into your Twitter playbook. This makes sense now.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
I
Learn how to provoke.
I watch a lot of I watch a lot of Asmongold because he's a silly dude. But I learn a lot. He's a weird guy. But I learn a lot from streamers like him on how
Is
to
it the
market.
guy that like has no teeth and doesn't clean his house?
Yeah, that's kind of like what the normies know him as. And you're a normie. But he but there's a lot to learn from I think Twitch, and I learned this early on because I used to work with Twitch streamers. There's a lot to learn about growing a community through social media from Twitch streamers. Lot to learn. A lot of lessons you can take away.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this has been a good one, boys. I'm excited. Chat went nuts today. Brett, thanks for casually hanging out.
My
This
pleasure.
is great.
Brett's an AI normie.
Brett's an AI.
Not yet.
normie.
You
No,
haven't
Brett's
rubbed off
Brett's
me
gonna
enough
get in
yet.
it. He's
I'm
gonna
in on
get
it, just
in
not to the depths that you guys are.
It's all right.
We'll get you there.
It'll get there.
It's more tokens for me to use. That's what it is.
Brett, we'll find a time to hang out, and I promise I won't bombard you with AI topics because that's all I'm talking about all day long.
I loved that this week in AI. I loved that.
Yeah. Do you just talk to your family about AI all day?
Me?
I do not, man.
No,
I think they're talking about me.
No.
No.
No, I'll tell my wife fun stuff though, or she'll be like, "Why are you laughing?" And I'll be like, "Because prompt prompted hour just said something funny."
Yeah. I wanted to rate your gamer tag. Are you comfortable sharing what it once was or what it currently is, Brett?
Sure, I'll share mine.
Yeah. What is it?
So, well, it's a series of characters before and after, but it's Skill Rex.
Okay. All right. I like that.
Yeah. XX Skill Rex XX.
I like
that a lot.
I get into that.
Yep. I think it was. I think I meant to do Skrillex back in like the early 2000s and spelt it wrong or something like that, and it just stuck. So
some sunny action. Cool.
Sweet. Well, cool. Well, this is good. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Next week we got Derek Briggs talks more design stuff. We're also going to be rebranding the show next week. It's going to become something AI. So if you don't like AI, just stop tuning in. It's okay. Yeah.
That's not true, by the way. That's not, don't listen to it. Anyway, yeah.
We're gonna start streaming on Twitch. I'm just gonna stream my whole workday on Twitch. That's
I kind of have thought of this. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
You should.
All right. Well, I'll see you all later.
Peace.
All right. Fuck you, Devin.